Never miss another fabulous cultural event in Cotacachi just because you can't speak Spanish. In other words, tells you everything you need to know about life in Cotacachi. And here is our host, Deborah May.
Program on public radio in Cotacachi. I am your host, Deborah May. Me llamo Urku, or Deborah. Ayujakta kunapimi riksiwan Urku shutiwan. Every Friday afternoon at 4, listeners can find out in English what special events and programs are going on next week in the Cotacachi area. Now, in today's program, you are going to learn new words in Spanish, English, and Kichwa from our professional language teachers. Listen to a new version of a truly great oldie from the United States, and starting at 4:30, find out more about Cine from my interview guest, Steve Donoso. Enjoy listening this afternoon. It will be an hour well spent.
Find out about the local events in Cotacachi before they happen on What's Going On.
So, what's going on this week in the Cotacachi area? This is the time in the show when I usually tell you about the film that's going to be playing at Cine tomorrow at 2 o'clock. But later in today's show, I will let the theater's director, Steve Donoso, tell us something about that movie himself during our interview that begins around 4:30. Tomorrow, beginning at 10 a.m., everyone is invited to an open meeting, a general assembly of Vivir Bien Ali Causai. Those in attendance will consider issues of interest to the movement, which is building the future of Cotacachi based on the active participation of all Cotacachi residents. The meeting will be held at the Society of Artisans, and according to its Facebook page, Vivir Bien Ali Causai, this movement joyfully is building the future based on the active participation of activist men and women. We continue our work together for the positive transformation of Cotacachi with friendly, hard-working people. We collectively strengthen our principles of solidarity, equality, autonomy, and self-determination to live well. Again, all are welcome to participate in this meeting constructively to build a better life together for all here in Cotacachi. Almost all of the meeting will be in Spanish, but even if you don't speak Spanish, I think your presence as a foreigner who supports the work of this movement will be noted and appreciated by those in attendance. Okay, there are several events planned for the city of Cotacachi in celebration of its 157th anniversary. The flyer listing the events is posted on our Facebook group page. In other words, most of the events will be speeches or special recognition of existing exhibits and places of interest in Cotacachi that you probably have already seen. But there are several events well worth writing into your calendar. For example, on Saturday, July 14th, there will be a bicycle tour of the city's streets, and that starts at the Museo de las Culturas at 8:30 a.m. On Friday, July 20th, there will be a free concert at the museum featuring what's called sentimental music. That may be romantic music, I'm not sure. That begins at 6 o'clock p.m. On Sunday, July 22nd, at Lake Quicocha, it looks like people will be swimming across the lake starting at 8 in the morning in the 22nd Travesía de la Laguna de Quicocha. It looks like they're swimming to me. I have to assume that's what it is. And on Friday, July 27th, an international chorus will perform at the Municipal Theater located at Parque Ornamental. That starts at 7 o'clock in the evening. A 5-kilometer foot race sponsored by a local bank will start on Saturday morning, July 28th at 8 a.m. And that will be followed by another free concert that evening, 7 o'clock at the same Municipal Theater. And this concert looks like it's going to be a festival of music and dance from Cuba. You will feel right at home at La Quadra Hostel, enjoying their relaxed and comfortable family atmosphere. La Quadra is located in the center of Cotacachi on Modesta Penherera, just a half block from Matriz. To make reservations, you can call Jairo at 06-291-6015. I just need to share with listeners today, I enjoyed one of the most flavorful, satisfying meals ever in Cotacachi at the new Bohemios restaurant. The falafel, hummus, and other Middle Eastern dishes are fabulous. I love Middle Eastern food. They've got it down. They're located on 9 de Octubre, the 9th of October, between Sucre and Salinas. Now, today through Sunday, July 8th, the community of Pucará, San Roque, is holding several Inti Raymi events featuring sacred ceremonial feasts, community celebrations of joy, and Thanksgiving celebrations to the sun, Inti Taita, for all of his kindness. Tomorrow night, starting at 7 p.m. in San Roque, there will be a concert with some of the best Andean bands in the world, and I am not exaggerating. Some of the best Andean bands in the entire world are going to be playing at the community center at Pucará San Roque. The admission is only $3.50. Come hear the bands. They include Mana Maimanda, Rimai, Generación Runenian, and Cisari. Cisari, fabulous, a band that was in Japan for quite some time. I don't know if they're still there. Attendees are expected to wear the traditional clothing of their own culture or nationality. I guess for us expats, that means T-shirts, jeans, and sneakers. Okay, Pandela. Every Tuesday between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m., Pandela serves delicious vegan meals, including chickpea or lentil falafel or tofu with sauerkraut, on healthy, delicious homemade breads, along with free access to their salad bar and sauces. Pandela is located on Rocafuerte, not far from Primavera 2. Pandela, because life is better while eating.
And now it's time to learn a few words in Kichwa. Mama Urku and Apak Perugachi speak Kichwapi.
Welcome to another episode of Kichwapi with our Kichwa instructor, Apak Perugachi. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about just 3 verbs. They're movement verbs: to sit, to run, and to walk. And we'll do a little conjugation, not a whole lot. I don't want to confuse people. But if you can learn these 3 verbs, you're ahead of the game. So let's start with the verb to sit.
Tiarina.
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 Okay, now to say I sit would be
Tiarini.
Okay, so this is very interesting. The verb to sit, all verbs end with N-A. All verbs in Kichwa end with N-A, so we have tiarina.
Tiarina.
And then we conjugate that very simply by turning the A into an I at the end. So tiarina, to say I sit, becomes
Tiarini.
tiarini. Tiarini.
Tiarini.
Okay. To say he sits or she sits, we would say
Tiarin.
tiarin. So with tiarin, we take off the A. We don't add the I. It's simply
Tiarin.
Okay, so the verb was tiarina, but to say he sits is
Tiarin.
Okay, let's look at another verb, to run.
Kalpana.
Kalpana ends with N-A because it's a verb. It's the root verb, the infinitive.
Kalpana.
To say I run, we will change the A to an I at the end. So to say I run is
Kalpani.
So we go from the verb to run, which is
Kalpana,
to I run, which is
Kalpani.
He runs would be
Kalpan.
Okay, so for he or she, again, we take off the A in the verb, kalpana. We don't use the I because we only need that for I run. So we just say
Kalpan.
He runs.
Kalpan.
Okay, one more verb. Purina, which means to walk.
Purina.
And also to travel. To travel. Purina. So I walk, again, we add the I.
Purini.
I walk.
Purini.
Purini, purini.
Purini.
He walks would be
Purin.
purin. So you see the conjugation here. It's really quite simple. You have the verb with na at the end. To change that to I run in the present, you change the a at the end to an I. And to say he or she runs, we remove both the a and the I, so it's simply kalpan. Same thing with he walks, purin. So now we're going to talk a little bit about we. The word for we is nyuganchik, and that cheek becomes part of the verb for we walk. So Purina is the verb to walk, but to say we walk would be
Purinchik.
okay, we walk.
Purinchik.
We run.
Kalpanchik.
We sit.
Tiarinchik.
Okay, so cheek is saying that we are doing this verb. We are doing this action. Just one more time to say we walk.
Purinchik.
We run.
Kalpanchik.
We sit.
Tiarinchik.
Okay, to say we sit on the ground would be,
Alpapi tiarinchik.
so on the ground we sit.
Alpapi tiarinchik.
To say he walks on the road.
Ñambi purin.
Okay? And to say I run in the city. A city is kiti, so I run in the city would be,
Kitipi kalpani.
I run, kalpani.
Kitipi kalpani.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you again, Apak, for another great lesson in Kichwapi, and I will see you next week. Yupaichani?
Yupaichani.
Apak Perugachi offers Kichwa classes as well as private Kichwa tutoring. He frequently lectures on the importance of preserving the Kichwa language and culture, as well as Andean spiritual beliefs, traditions, and cosmovision. If you speak Kichwa or Spanish, you can call him at 098-085-1887. Did you know that the current name for the city of Cotacachi comes from its original Kichwa name, Cotacachi? Cachi is the Kichwa word for salt, and kutana is the Kichwa verb for grinding. So Cotacachi could be interpreted into English as finely ground powder of salt. Did you know that the name for Lake Quicocha comes from its original Kichwa name, Quichicucha? Quichi is the Kichwa word for rainbow, and Cucha is the Kichwa name for any body of water from a puddle to the ocean. So it is said by local indigenous people that during the month of June, when the sun is closest and strongest, the waters of Quichicucha sometimes turn the colors of the rainbow. So we're going to take a break now to share with you a beautiful version of a song about a rainbow, a song well known and loved by every North American expat in my listening audience. This song was made famous in 1939 by child star Judy Garland in the movie Wizard of Oz. Here is singing a hauntingly beautiful version of that song from 1993, an indigenous land activist from Hawaii named Israel Kamakawiwole, or Is. This is his 1993 version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
wish upon a star. Wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like lemon drops. High above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind. Be where trouble melts like a lemon drops. High above the chimney top, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow. Way dreams that you dare to, why, oh why can't I?
Get to know your neighbors with total Spanish immersion. Vamos!
Welcome to Katy Estrella, our Spanish teacher for English speakers from the Pucara Spanish School. And today we're going to talk a little about words that we would use in a restaurant. This is a little more advanced than some of our other lessons, so those who already speak a little Spanish will especially enjoy this lesson.
Mucho gusto, Débora. Bueno, vamos a hablar en el restaurante.
Okay, we're going to speak as if we were in the restaurant.
Buenos días. ¿Tiene una mesa libre?
Okay, good day. Do you have a free table? Buenos días. ¿Tiene una mesa libre? Libre, gracias.
¿Qué me recomienda comer?
And what do you recommend that I eat? ¿Qué me recomienda comer?
Ajá. ¿Puede darme un vaso de agua, por favor?
Could you bring me a glass of water, please? ¿Puede darme un vaso de agua?
¿Puede darme un vaso de agua?
Could you please bring me a glass of water?
¿Dónde está el baño?
Where's the bathroom?
¿Dónde está el baño?
¿Dónde está el baño? Where is the bathroom?
¿Tiene pimienta, sal, aceite o ají, por favor?
Okay, so we're asking here the waiter if they have pimienta, which is pepper, or sal, which is salt, aceite, which is oil, or ají, which is chili. Is it ají? Is that always a chili sauce, or do you mean just chili?
Chili sauce.
A chili sauce. Ají, a chili sauce. Okay, so tiene pimienta? Do you have pepper? Tiene sal? Do you have salt? Tiene aceite? Do you have oil? Tiene ají? Do you have a chili sauce?
Excelente. ¿Cuál es el menú del día?
What is the menu of the day?
¿Cuál es el menú del día?
¿Cuál es el menú del día? What is the menu of the day?
La cuenta, por favor.
The bill, please. The bill, please. La cuenta, por favor.
Vamos a repetir.
Okay.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
¿Tiene una mesa libre?
Do you have a free table?
¿Qué me recomienda comer?
What would you recommend that we eat?
Repite.
¿Qué me recomienda comer? What do you recommend to eat?
¿Puede darme un vaso de agua?
Could you bring me a glass of water? ¿Puede darme un vaso de agua?
¿Dónde está el baño?
Where is the bathroom? ¿Dónde está el baño? Por favor. Please.
¿Tiene pimienta?
¿Tiene pimienta? Do you have pepper?
¿Tiene sal?
¿Tiene sal? Do you have salt?
¿Tiene aceite?
Do you have oil? ¿Tiene aceite?
¿Tiene más ají, por favor?
¿Tiene más ají, por favor? Can you bring us more ají, more of that chili sauce?
¿Cuál es el menú del día?
¿Cuál es el menú del día? What is the menu of the day?
La cuenta, por favor.
The bill, please. La cuenta, por favor.
Repetimos una vez más. Buenos días. ¿Tiene una mesa libre?
Good day. Do you have a free table?
¿Qué me recomienda comer?
What do you recommend to eat?
¿Puede darme un vaso de agua?
Can you bring me a glass of water?
¿Dónde está el baño, por favor?
Where is the bathroom, please?
¿Tiene pimienta?
Do you have pepper?
¿Tiene sal?
Do you have salt?
¿Tiene aceite?
Do you have oil?
¿Tiene un poco más de ají?
Do you have a little more ají?
¿Cuál es el menú del día?
What is the menu of the day?
La cuenta, por favor.
The bill, please.
Muchas gracias, Deborah.
Muchas gracias a usted, Katy, and I will see you next week.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego.
Katy Estrella is an experienced Spanish teacher with over 20 years of teaching experience in Europe and Ecuador. She teaches Spanish to people of all ages, at every level, from beginner to advanced, and she offers Spanish lessons in her classroom at San Francisco Square in Cotacachi. Katy invites you to visit her community of Pucara de San Roque this weekend as it celebrates Inti Raymi with song, dance, food, and more. Remember, you can find links to all of our teachers, interview guests, and sponsors on our Facebook group page, In Other Words. Details about upcoming events that we announce on the radio program often are posted on our Facebook page in advance, so join the group to find out more about what's going on in Cotacachi. Kalua Coffee and Tea on Pedro Moncayo has great coffee from Intag and serves hearty meat as well as vegetarian sandwiches on fresh baguettes. They're open 7 days a week. Breakfast starts at 9. Kalua Coffee and Tea. At Wolf Puppy Dog Grooming and Pet Shop of Cotacachi, you'll find high-quality pet food and accessories for every kind of pet. Visit them at the corner of Pedro Moncayo near Matriz Park and check out their Facebook page to make a dog grooming appointment. Woof Puppy, that's W-O-O-F, Woof Puppy. Well, I have great news for the many people who've been asking me how can they listen to one of the In Other Words programs that they missed when it was live. Thanks to our sponsors, Deb and Dan at the Cuckoo's Nest, the radio station just today finished archiving all past 13 episodes of this program online. I'll begin posting links to individual programs on the Facebook group page tomorrow, along with the names of the individuals and groups who have been interviewed in each episode. But if you're curious now, you can go directly to YouTube, type in the words, In Other Words, Cotacachi. Or you can go to YouTube and type in the words Radio Pública Cotacachi 93.5 to find some of the In Other Words programs. So now you can listen to some entire old episodes, or you can listen only to the program's 13 Spanish lessons as often as you want, whenever you want, or you can listen to our 13 Kichwa lessons over and over again until you know the words and phrases by heart. And of course, you now can listen to the great interviews you missed live when I spoke with guests like the directors of Cotacachi organizations, including Amichicanes, Uno a Uno, A Place of Hope, Soup Kitchen. Or maybe you missed my interviews with our very interesting Cotacachi neighbors, people like La Calera president, Milton Moran, Brenda Chadbourne from the Cotacachi Health Chapter's neighborhood group, Yannick Pak of Pandela Bakery, and Apauki Flores of Yuyandes. If you missed the 4 terrific interviews with Kichwa cultural activists in June,
that gave us an in-depth understanding of Indie Raimi as it is celebrated here in Cotacachi. Now you can go back and listen to all 4 interviews in one sitting if you want. So right now, there are 13 complete episodes archived, 13 interviews, 13 language lesson available online. I'll provide more details online this week and again in next week's program. I want to thank again Deb and Dan from the Cuckoo's Nest for basically taking care of the bill for our local computer guy, James Scarberry, who met with the director of the radio station here to make the program Archives a reality for English-speaking listeners of In Other Words. And I also want to thank Patricio, who's helping me right now as we're doing this live program, for uploading all of these programs on YouTube. I think I just want to say a little bit to our guest, Steve Donoso, who's here in the studio. Most of our listeners know Steve as the man who shows us great movies at Ami Cine here in Cotacachi. But for decades, he's been presenting hundreds of films in various venues. Steve also is the author of 3 nonfiction books and is working on a 4th. And he does black and white photography. He has special interest in the subjects of consciousness, the environment, and social justice issues. So after we hear from our sponsors, we're going to come back and begin our interview with Steve Donoso. But I just want to say a quick welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so we'll talk to you in just a few minutes.
Listen to the special people who define Cotacachi here in Something to Talk About.
Welcome to Steve Donoso, the man behind the great movies at Ami Cine. So, Steve, to start, can you tell our listeners a little about how you came to live here in Cotacachi?
That's an interesting question. Well, I can answer that a couple of ways, or there's a couple of layers to that. One is that I'm half Ecuadorian. So my father was born in Riobamba and came to the States in his early 20s. Although I have to put a little asterisk and say that my wife, Rebecca, speaks much better Spanish than I do, because Spanish was a code language in my house growing up.
Meaning that they spoke Spanish when they didn't want you to understand.
Only when they didn't want us to understand,
okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
But actually, Rebecca and I were engaged at that point. She was in Florida, I was in Maine, and simultaneously we pulled up Yahoo one morning and saw a story on Ecuador being a great place to retire, and they had a picture of Cuenca, and Rebecca contacted me and said, "Don't you have family in Cuenca?" And I said, "Yeah." And we started looking into it, came to visit after about 8 or 9 months of research, and fell in love with it the first time we came. So 3 years after that visit, we moved.
Okay, so you have roots here in Ecuador.
I do.
You have roots.
I do, yeah.
So please tell us the story of Ami Cine. There's so many of us who love to go to your Saturday afternoon films at 2:00. How did Ami Cine get started? What was your role in it?
My role in it getting started was a zip, but soon after I arrived, let me preface that. I've shown films in colleges, universities, opera houses, public libraries, independent theaters for about 40 years. So when I got to Cotacachi, I went into Prana one day and said to Javier, I've shown films a lot in the U.S. Is there any place here I could do that? And he said, "You want to talk to my friend Etienne?" And I said, "Okay, why?" And he said, "Well, he's building a theater on the edge of Cotacachi." And I thought, nah. Really? And I went out there. The theater was probably, I don't know, 2/3 built maybe or something. But I could see what it looked like, and it looked great.
And when was this? What year?
This was 2013. So it was the early fall 2013.
About 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this December will be the 5th anniversary of the theater.
Cool.
And I talked to Etienne, and he said, "Sure, pick a day and a time, and you can do some films, and I'll show some films as well." So that's how that came about. So yeah, Friday will be the 5th anniversary of the theater opening, and it's wonderful because for a town the size of Cotacachi, you will not find, well, first of all, you won't find a theater, but second of all, you won't find a theater as beautiful. Even in Otavalo, you won't find a theater as beautiful as this. So we're really lucky to have this resource. And Etienne and his wife, Maria del Carmen, built it on their property. Etienne's been a film buff for years and wanted to do this.
Well, to build a theater on your property, you'd have to be quite a film buff. People want to know, how do you select the films that you show at Ami Cine? And I just have to say that we share the same taste in films. Almost everything you show, I've either seen or it's on my list of something I need to see soon. So how do you choose the films?
How do I choose? I try to come up with a theme. Now, some months the theme may be more overt. Sometimes the theme may be more subtle, but I try to come up for a theme of the month. And then, to be perfectly honest, I show films that I've seen that I really like and I feel are worth sharing. You're trying to figure out like what's going to please people will drive me crazy. So I basically show things I like that have inspired me, that I think are wonderful and are worth sharing. And that's how I pick them.
You know, I have noticed that when I first began attending the theater a few years ago, there weren't that many people there, and lately you seem to be attracting a larger crowd.
Lately,
Is that
it
true?
has been picking up some. Yeah.
What do you think's happening? Any idea?
I don't know, but it's wonderful. But it's great. You know,
well, the word's finally getting out.
Yeah, and it could get out more. I mean, bring a friend. We've got 69 seats, and it's red plush seats if you haven't been there. Big screen, lovely theater.
It really is gorgeous, and it's clean, and it's very comfortable and welcoming. I mean, I just can't think of a nicer theater.
Upstairs, there's a cafe where there's free coffee and tea and usually crackers. Adjacent to that cafe is a conference room that fits about 40 people that people can do workshops or meetings in, and all of that is available for rent.
Right. I remember about a year and a half ago, I worked on a documentary with Joel Kaplan and Fred Hosea and Susan Murray and some of the leaders of some of the indigenous communities here to send a message of solidarity from the water protectors here in Cotacachi to the water protectors of Standing Rock. And we decided to have our premiere. It sounds like a big fancy word for it, but we had our premiere. The rental cost was very reasonable. We had a very nice turnout. And then later upstairs, we were able to have a discussion in that large lobby area. So, it was very successful in every way. So could you share with us some of your all-time favorite films and why you love them?
That's
at least one or two.
Question. I was talking with my wife Rebecca this morning, and she was saying every film is an exploration, which I agree with. So it's hard to have a favorite, and I have very eclectic taste in some ways. I mean, some of my favorites can go back to comedies of the 30s and 40s. Some of them are recent films. Since we did not announce Saturday's film, I'll say one of my favorite recent films is director Alexander Payne's film Downsizing that we're showing this Saturday at 2 p.m. It's with Matt Damon. And it's this, I don't even know how to describe it, because on one level, I mean, there's a science fiction level to it. There's a social parable level to it. But Norwegian scientists come up with this way of shrinking people to 1/16 of their size as a way of combating climate change and overpopulation.
Because we consume so much more in terms of resources as larger beings.
Yes. So
that's
as smaller
the premise?
beings, we consume very little. And then as time passes, as the months and a couple of years pass, this becomes a lifestyle choice for some people. And so Matt Damon and his wife do some research and decide to do this. And it's just, it's a wonderful film. And you're watching it and you're thinking, oh, it's going to go this way, and it goes that way. And you go, what? In a good way, in a very good way. It just keeps surprising you. And I kept saying, wow, to myself while watching it. It's a great film. So it's Downsizing this Saturday, tomorrow, 2 p.m.
Okay, and you have a special arrangement or a special way that you help people get from San Francisco Park to your movie theater. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We carpool. We meet at San Francisco Park across from the church and across from Eddie's at 1:15. And we either have, sometimes if Milton's available, Milton Andrew Munio, he brings his van. Mm-hmm. If he's not available, we'll get a couple of taxis, depending on how many people we have, and we'll carpool to the theater. So people can meet us there at 1:15. We usually leave by about 1:25. If people can't do that, almost every taxi driver in Cotacachi knows Ami Cine.
Right, and if they don't know Ami Cine, I found they do know Ami Fundación.
Yes, they know Fundación Ami. Yes,
right. So that's a really convenient way for people who are a little afraid to venture out on their own, just a little on the outskirts of the city. They can certainly just take a taxi, ask for Ami Cine or Ami Fundación, or meet at 1:15 at San Francisco Park and share a taxi together, which even lowers the price.
And that carpool is round trip. We'll have Milton come back, or if he's not available, we'll have taxis come at the end for people as well.
Great. So I know you asked for a donation of $5 per person for the programs. Can you tell us how that $5 donation is used?
It goes both to support the theater and the Fundación Ami's work with children and family at risk, which they've been doing since 2003. Began in the PIFO area near the new airport, actually. And when the new airport started to get built and got really loud, they decided they really needed to be someplace quieter and came up here. So it's between those two, and it's difficult to say how much of that goes to each because the theater has some fixed costs. So the more people who come, the more goes to the foundation.
Okay. And you have some staff there. You have a young man who runs. Can you tell us about them?
Yeah, Daniel Vinuesa does the projection. He's very, very capable young man who knows the technical aspects very well, and Waita is usually upstairs helping set out the coffee, tea, and crackers, and just keeping an eye on that space as well.
So Danielle and Waita are your people that help. Okay, so anything else you want to say about film? I saw my favorite film, I think, ever. I was so surprised. About a month ago, I just showed up for what looked like a good movie. It turned out to be the best movie ever. It was a Japanese film where people died.
Called Afterlife.
Afterlife. And they had to select one memory from their life that they would exist in for eternity. It was a wonderful film, very moving. Of course, after I got home, I did all kinds of online research to find out everything about the film. So it was called Afterlife.
It's called Afterlife.
Do you remember the director by any chance?
My Japanese is terrible. So if you know Japanese and you're listening out there, I'm going to butcher this, but it's Hirokazu Koreeda. I'm probably doing half Spanish pronunciation, but and he actually at the Cannes Film Festival in France, he just won the largest award there for his new film. So he's been making films for a long time, but like many filmmakers from other countries, not known much in North America because there's boundaries in a sense.
Well, what a rich film, so meaningful, and it had me in tears many times. And, a great film just stays in your mind for hours or days afterwards. Yeah. And that was one of these, Afterlife. Okay. So in addition to film, you also are a writer and a photographer. I was really surprised to learn that some of your photographs and articles have appeared in two of my favorite publications that not too many people know about, the Utne Reader and The Sun, both wonderful publications. So can you tell my listeners a little bit about the book you wrote that was called Returning the Gift?
Sure. Over the course of about 7 years in the U.S., I had done a number of interviews with people. I just decided to start doing interviews. I don't know why. But I had done a number. And then when I came here, I decided to take 4 of those, put them together, and make it a book. So that's what that book is. So
it's 4 interviews with 4 individuals?
4 individuals. And the theme of the book is inner and outer peace. Finding inner and outer peace. And the individuals are Eckhart Tolle, who's a writer and spiritual teacher. He was the first person I ever interviewed. It was pretty funny.
That's a big one.
Yeah, and I was really nervous, and I had a $29 plastic tape recorder. that didn't even have a button on it to open the door so you could change the tape. So when it was time to change the tape, I'm like, how do I do this?
When was this?
This was 2001.
Okay, so some time ago.
Yeah, it was.
How was he to interview?
Soon,
He's quite a famous character.
Pretty soon after he published The Power of Now. He was fascinating. I mean, for the first few minutes, I thought, this man could be insane because he was laughing a lot, but he was laughing a lot about terrible things in the world that he was talking about. But then about 5 minutes into the conversation, I was laughing with him. So I thought, okay, we're both insane. Okay, that works. But he was pretty easy to talk with.
And the other folks that are
the other folks are Tim Wilson, who for many years was the camp counselor of an incredible camp west of Portland, Maine called Seeds of Peace. It's an international camp that brings together teens from war-torn areas. So they've brought together teens from Israel and Palestine, from India and Pakistan, from all kinds of countries that have conflicts. And the teens play games with each other, sleep under the same tents, and get to see that the enemy has a face.
Wow.
Fascinating
peace
camp. Yeah, and this has been going for 30 years, started by a journalist 30 years ago. And so I interviewed him about that.
Does the book include verbatim interview text, or is it summary?
No, it's questions and answers. It's me asking questions and dialoguing some. So yeah, it's verbatim pretty much.
Okay, and the other two?
The other two, another spiritual teacher named Adya Shanti, who's written 5 or 6 or 7 books, a young fellow, very dynamic, very good writer. And he kind of awakened to his true nature when he was 29, 31, something around there.
True nature?
True nature in that, oh God, that's a whole conversation we could have for 5 hours. But
we don't have 5 hours.
And a sense to that he felt he was both an individual but not an individual. This oneness of everybody being connected, and all
yes.
everything being connected,
yes,
but not in an intellectual sense, in an experiential sense.
Yes. I know what you're talking about, and I had always hoped that was something that once it's experienced, it stays with you, but it doesn't necessarily. It can come and go at different points in life.
This is true.
But we're very blessed when we reach that point of being aware that we're all connected, for sure.
He had written a book recently at that time called Falling into Grace, so we talked. Mm-hmm. And then the last person was a woman named Laura Waters Henson. She was a filmmaker who went with her church group to Rwanda one summer and for church work, and was kind of blown away to find out that the country was in the middle of reconciliation after the genocide, that they had 50 to 60,000 people in jail. Wow. Rwanda is this very small, densely populated country. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They didn't have the mechanism to even deal with that administratively. Mm-hmm. So they started letting people out, not the leaders, not the people who organized the genocide, but the low-level folks. Mm-hmm. And the only place they had to go was back to their communities. Mm. And so there was this nationwide reconciliation. The local villages would have councils and encourage people to meet people who killed members of somebody else's family. Wow. So she ended up coming back the next summer and making a film called As We Forgive.
Have you shown that film?
Yes, and I'll show it again sometime. It's very powerful.
And what is her name again?
Laura Waters Henson, and it focuses on 2 women specifically who lost family members.
Okay, so that's one book. Sounds fascinating. You also have a book called Unknown Skies. And why did you write that?
That was an interview I did with a woman named Leslie Keene, who's a journalist. She's an investigative journalist. She's written for the New York Times, the Boston Globe, the Philadelphia Inquirer, lots of good newspapers. But since 1999, 2000, she has been a little radical in that she's been writing about UFOs. in a very practical
Unidentified
way.
flying objects.
Yeah, but not in a we're being invaded or any kind of conspiracy theory sense, but in a sense of these things are documented, they're in our skies, people aren't talking about them much. And so I found her book. She wrote a book called UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials on the Record, which I found fascinating. And I just decided to call her up and talk to her.
Wow, you know some really interesting people. You're also working on a new book. You wrote a book about libraries.
I wrote a book about doing events at libraries because I did events. I was event coordinator
like a how-to
for
book?
13 years. Yeah, for libraries specifically.
And you're working on a new book now?
Working on a new book called Moving Cinema, Films from the Heart of Life, which is collection of 60 to 70 short essays or vignettes of films that I've shared with the public over the last 40 years, and films that both the public and I have both found moving. Okay. So I'm up to number 19 I finished last night. So
I'm just curious, which of these books are your bestsellers, the most popular?
Oh, God. I'd suppose the Returning the Gift is, and that's the one that's available in paperback and ebook. The others are just ebooks.
Right, a lot of folks are selling ebook versions first now.
Right,
so,
yeah,
that's true. So also, I was very moved by, you had a photography exhibit at La Quadra about a year ago.
Roughly.
And you had some amazing photos that just moved my heart.
Aw,
they were so beautiful. And I realized you have more talents. So tell us about your interest in photography, and particularly black and white photography.
I've been doing black and white photography probably since my last year in high school. I started doing it. Ooh, feedback. And I did it for a good decade and a half, and then got caught up in raising a family. So it was when I came here that I again had the time to do that. So I've been publishing a calendar for the last, this will be the third year of doing a photographic calendar.
I'm a fan. I didn't even know that you had a calendar. So how would someone buy that calendar?
I usually put it on Facebook and tell people and it's printed, well, at least it has been in the past, printed in the U.S., so I have to find somebody to bring them. And
you got to mule them in.
Yeah, so you got to mule them in at this point.
Right.
But if you're interested, contact me. I'm on Facebook.
And how would someone contact you?
On Facebook, it's easy. On Facebook, you can just contact me. Otherwise,
you mean with Steve Donoso?
Yeah, or you can email me which is stevedonoso@yahoo.com. It's pretty direct.
Okay, so that's Donoso, Steve Donoso. Okay. Anything else you want to share about your photography?
Lately, I've been doing something called black and white infrared photography.
And what is that?
Well, it's a different spectrum of light.
Okay.
And so it does different things. Grass and growing things show up white, almost like snow, almost like they're, and it's just interesting to me.
Okay, so another interest.
Yeah.
What kind of work did you do professionally in the States?
All over the place.
You were a librarian, I assume?
My last gig was a librarian for 12, 13 years. Before that, I taught in Waldorf schools for a couple of years.
Those are for children?
Children. And I taught first through fourth consecutively, not at the same time. But and so every year, instead of resting on your laurels and getting to say, okay, how can I improve things next year? No, you learn something brand new. And it was wonderful. And I've also worked for the Vermont State Education Organization that helps students get financial aid and go to college. I've worked in bookstores. I've done all kinds of stuff.
Bookstores. That's a lot of the books that I've been reading lately, a lot of fiction, very popular fiction, has been set in bookstores. I'm kind of wondering about that trend that's happening. So, Steve, you've been here for a while. What advice would you give to North Americans who are thinking about living here in Cotacachi or those who have just arrived? What do they need to know about enjoying the good life in this city here in the Northern Andes?
Well, what would I advise? I would advise coming with no expectations, which is very hard for us humans. It's just a hard thing to do. But the less expectations you have, the better the experience is going to be. 2 words I'd also strongly advise is learn Spanish, which I've slowly been doing over the last 5 years.
Yes, we have shared a Spanish class with Katy Estrella. Yes.
And Katy's a wonderful teacher.
Yes, she is. So learn Spanish, have no expectations.
If you're coming here with a partner, make sure you're both on the same page. Visit together more than once. You know, one of the main things I see for people who leave here after coming is one person decides they don't like it.
Yeah, I've heard stories over the years that sometimes can happen. Okay, Steve, we're about out of time. Anything else you want to add before we go?
No, just thank you very much. And come to Ami Cine on Saturdays at 2 and bring a friend.
Okay.
And help support their work. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We're now going to hear another version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow that you're more familiar with from The Wizard of Oz, 1939.
Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me. Somewhere fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I?
Thanks for listening this week to another episode of In Other Words. We'll be back next Friday and every Friday afternoon at 4 with more language lessons and interviews with local celebrities like Steve. Next Friday, I'll be talking with the founders of Ami Fundación, including Etienne Moin. On July 20th, my interview guest will be Xavier Solorzano, the owner of Prana Vital Energy in Cotacachi. He'll be telling me more about their local organic produce, nuts, oils, wine, books, restaurant food, and much more. Prana is located on the corner of 9 de Octubre and Rocafuerte, and their shop is open on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Please tell your friends you enjoyed this program today. Encourage them to listen next Friday when we'll be back at 4 o'clock. Hasta viernes, chaska puncha kaman. Thank you. Gracias. Yupaychani mashikun.
Thank you for listening to our program. In other words, we'll see you again next Friday at the same time, 4 p.m. on Radio Publica Cotacachi.
Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, ooh, please be true. In other words,